Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here with you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate you being here with us and here all around the world, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and of course around the globe on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Very excited for today's broadcast with you. As you know, it is a Tuesday, so we will have our Bearcat time, and typically that is coming to you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to do a little bit earlier here today as we're going to flip-flop and have the Bearcat Breakroom in hour number 1 for Dennis Kalina to be joining the show. Happy to have Dennis here after throwing out the first pitch at the Binghamton Mets game here recently and celebrating back-to-back Commissioner's Cups in the America East for Binghamton University. That's coming up in hour number 1 in our multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton and the Bearcats. In hour number 2, and right outside of hour number 1 and going into hour number 2, you're going to hear from the Duke Blue Devils, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the NC State Wolfpack, and the North Carolina Tar Heels in my Q&As with each of their football programs and each of their head coaches. And all of that is brought to you by Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines, North Carolina, 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, down there in the great state of North Carolina. And we'll round out the show as we always do with the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's every Tuesday, focusing on our blessings is where the topic is today. So with that being said, we are picture in picture this morning with Dennis Kalina, coming to us from Binghamton University, Senior Deputy Director of Athletics and the Chief Operating Officer. Dennis, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me this morning.
Absolutely, Dennis, and it's my pleasure. I was talking with John Hartrick off the air, and he was like, Dennis does so much that we want to get him in front of the camera, because I had reached out to him, and I was like, I'd like to have Dennis on the show, and he's like, I thought that would be a great idea. He said, you're a very busy man, but we don't always get to see you like this. So just what you can say about life behind the scenes and the things that you love about your job at Binghamton University, because I know you're doing a lot of work out there.
Yeah, well, my wife and I were actually just we're trying to figure out exactly how long I've been in college athletics. So I just started my 31st year in college athletics, 12 of which have been at Binghamton. And what I do right now at Binghamton is really, as you said, a lot of behind-the-scenes work, the financials, the human resources, the capital projects, and then just sports supervision for a number of programs here. And it's a great experience. I mean, working on a college campus, it keeps you young. You see our student athletes every day. You see the life that as you walk around campus. Generally speaking, you've got students 18 to 22. And even though I'm not that age, some days I feel like it because the youth on the campus, and it's kind of what makes our job special as we see what we're doing for our student athletes and how we make their lives better, hopefully. And then it's also awesome to see kind of when they leave the campus, where they go and what they do and how successful they are afterwards.
Yeah, and like you said, over 3 decades doing it and over a decade at Binghamton University. When you said you were sitting there with your wife trying to figure out how many years it's been, when you hit 31, what was the first thing on your mind?
I couldn't believe the number. It was first and foremost. We've been to 5 different institutions, and just finding a home at Binghamton for the last 12 years, it's something we really didn't think would happen. As you move up in college athletics, you think you're going to be at some place, 4, 5, 6 years, but it's home. It's been a great experience. It's very family friendly. And then we've also had a great experience with our department, our student athletes, and what we've been able to accomplish here. So that's kind of kept us around to make sure that we see some of the stuff that we've kind of planted, I guess, and seen it grow and come to fruition, and especially the past couple of years with the success we've had on the court, and then also in our academic areas as well.
Yeah, and Binghamton University has just been honored as one of the top 10 public Ivy Leagues in the entire country. You talk about the student side to student athlete, and that has been imperative to my discussion here as a multimedia marketing partner. And my plan of what I wanted to do to really put a spotlight on Binghamton is to address the fact that in a world where athlete is ahead of student, sometimes student is deleted, at Binghamton University, you're having success on the fields and courts and pools and tracks of life, but you're also having tremendous success in the classroom. So you're living in this world where you truly are embodying what it means to be a student athlete. And I love to go a little bit deeper into that with you because it's good to see, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air in today's athletics.
Yeah, I guess I'll say as the profile of the university has increased, it's been a little bit more competitive for our student athletes to get in because Binghamton as a university is just tough to get in.
Yeah.
So we've seen our student athletes come in with 1300s, 1400s, 1500s on the SAT, and then that's been good. And so we've seen that translate into the academic side as you look at what our grade point averages are for our student athletes. We're this past academic year, we were at a 3.45 for the entire department.
Yeah.
And the student population is only, I forget exact number, but I think it's about 3.23. So we're well ahead of that. And, even this past spring, we had 61 student athletes come in with a 4.0 for the semester. So those numbers right there show that we're bringing in the student athletes who, as you said earlier, do believe in the academic side, but they also want to be competitive. And we've kind of now found that balance of athletics and academics. And then we're also with the community side as well as they're getting out in the community. But it's been in my 12 years have seen the student athletes academically come in stronger.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would think if they're coming in stronger, they might not be as athletically inclined, but that's not the case. As the profile has gone up, and you referenced the Forbes article about the public Ivies, that's something we use in recruiting.
Yeah.
Every time we get a new grant for the battery project here on campus, that's something we talk about because there's a lot of kids that are coming in with STEM backgrounds that want to hear that, and now they're attracting those students who are gifted academically, but also those top end athletically as well, because now they're actually, in the past we might say, hey, they could go to an Ivy, they could go to Patriot. Now they're saying, hey, Binghamton is kind of passing those schools up, and now is at the top of the list on a lot of those, especially in the New York kids and the general Northeast area.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, everything that's it's not an easy school to get into, and like you said, you get that SAT score, and you're trying to obviously come in athletically, come in academically, but you're being challenged right away, and the challenge doesn't go away once you get there. But the question becomes, how is there success in both? Because there's this notion that in order to be successful athletically, you have to cut corners academically. Why is Binghamton doing both so well?
I'm going to give credit to the coaches. It's in the recruiting process. So the coaches are out there. A few years ago, we worked with our coaches and the university for what we called out-of-state incentives. So in other words, how do we attract out-of-state? And I think that was kind of where it started, because what that did is got our coaches to look a little bit broader than just the New York area. So now they were helping the university bring in out-of-state enrollment while also getting talented student athletes from, could be Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We've got some from Montana, Utah, California. So they're broadening their net. And when they started doing that, now they started pulling in, those kids who are very academically minded from farther away, because now Binghamton has that credibility beyond just the Northeast. So our coaches in their recruiting process have widened that net and been able to bring in those athletes who have a high academic achievement in high school, because they've looked a little bit further out, and that's been very successful for the last couple of years. And without the coaches in their recruiting process, they would essentially have to try to develop homegrown talent. And now we're coming in with the athletic side a little bit. They're more experienced athletically when they get here at Binghamton as a freshman.
Yeah, and seeing everything that's happened with the back-to-back Commissioners' Cups, this is not an easy thing to do. I went through the point system when I had the athletics director, Eugene Marshall, on the broadcast here in what we call Moments with Marshall and our multimedia marketing partnership. We're here this morning with Binghamton University Senior Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief Operating Officer, Dennis Kalina. And when we had that discussion, when I was speaking with Gene about this and kind of how the point system works and how you really have to have, you can't have one or two good programs. You have to have everyone kind of giving to the pot and bringing it all together. It's difficult to have one Commissioner's Cup, especially when you're in the middle of the pack, maybe the year before. To have back-to-back Commissioner's Cups, Dennis, I know you said you give credit to the coaches, I give credit to the student athletes, but what has it been like to experience that? The fact that the Cup for the America East has been in Binghamton, and after you have that and you celebrate that for an entire year, it stays in Binghamton. It's one thing to get it. It's another thing to say, like, no, this is ours. I think that we're going to have to change its residency and put a little address on there for it.
Yeah, it's definitely a sense of pride. Prior to the last 2 years, we were probably in that, finishing 5th to 7th in that area. But what we did is we looked at intentional investment to say, okay, if we're gonna start competing, how are we going to compete? And it started with a few programs to say, if you look at it and say, where am I going to put my next dollar? And why would I put my next dollar there? Where would I put the next scholarship? Where would we put the next staff position? And we did that intentionally to pull up a few programs first. And once we had a few programs that achieved success, others realized, hey, it can be done within the America East. And so it became, like I said, the intentional investment first, and then it became others believing that they could be more successful than they had been. So we have a great group of coaches who, a lot of them who've been here for a number of years. We've got a couple that are over 20 years here at Binghamton. So they were here in the D3, D2, and D1 eras, and they've found success in all three areas of division, NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3. And I think that also helps because they can help sell the university better and knowing exactly what it has to offer. And so having that cup here for the last couple of years has been a sense of pride for them as well, as they've weathered some of the years where we didn't have much success. And so it definitely is a sense of pride. And now we always talk about, could we three-peat, and what's it going to take to make sure the cup stays here in Binghamton for a third year?
Yeah, and you talk about being intentional. You've done a lot of work at Binghamton University, which includes but isn't limited to raising money, fundraising that secured $1 million for renovations for men's and women's basketball locker rooms. You've also, and I've walked through those locker rooms, which to me, when you have the opportunity to be around high school, college, and professional teams, which God has blessed me with that opportunity, when I go into locker rooms, I can tell you if this looks like something that I would see at a professional level, that I would see at a school that's in the Big Ten or in the SEC or in the ACC and whatnot. And I've toured these facilities. I'm actually going to be sharing a video of the touring of these facilities that I did over the summer. And the men's and women's basketball locker rooms, a lot of good to be had there. I know there's renovations being done to the locker rooms in general right now. Enhancements to the event center you worked on with the concourse and facility branding as well as fan experience. And you managed fundraising special events that added another $50,000 at different times. You've worked with corporate partnerships, ticketing, merchandising, licensing, the annual fund, major gifts, marketing and promotions. There's so many different areas that you've been in as the chief operating officer, Dennis. What can you say has maybe been the crown jewel of the last 12 years, or is it comprised of all of these different pieces? What kind of sticks out to you with all the work that you've done, and as much money's been raised and as much enhancements and creations have come to Binghamton? Do you have one that's kind of like your baby, or is there a whole family that you think of?
Well, I guess there's two ways to answer that one. So you talked about a crown jewel, and it's hard to not say our crown jewel is our baseball complex.
Yeah.
That had a $60 million renovation, and which that's uncommon for schools at our level. We probably have the best mid-major facility that rivals, Big Ten stadiums. So that is absolutely the crown jewel, and we're still expanding that. We've got the Field House project, which is adjacent to the baseball stadium. That's going to serve us not only as our indoor practice facility for baseball and softball, but we'll have our soccers and lacrosses that have that as well. So that's definitely our crown jewel. Yeah. What I could say we're most proud of, anytime we've had projects that impact a large portion of our student athletes, those are the ones that give me pride. This past summer, we went through, and as you talked about the locker rooms for our men's and women's basketball programs, but our other programs didn't have great locker rooms. We've had some that our women's swimming team had lockers from the 1960s. And so I went through and made sure that we took this project and said, okay, we're going to enhance all the other 18 programs to make sure that they have a quality place that they can call home, that they, before and after practice, it's clean, it's fresh, it's new. And so that was a project that I have a lot of pride in, because I know it impacted probably 375 of our 425 student athletes. And that's when they came in the spring or this fall semester, they got into the locker room for the first time, they knew something was different. They knew that, hey, the administration cared for us. They heard some of what we've asked for in our student athlete surveys we do at the end of the year, and they really thought about us. And so they're very appreciative of that project. And like I said, that's a sense of pride for me from this past summer.
Yeah, and like I said, going through the locker rooms and getting to see everything that was being done with them and just the changes that were being made. Like you said, it wasn't one sport over the other. It wasn't we're going to take care of this and not take care of that. It was how can we improve the student athlete experience across the board, which really stuck out to me. You had another thing that sticks out to me, and this is because people that know me know that obviously I was born in Syracuse, New York, so I am a fan of Syracuse. But my other team in that NCAA tournament world that I really got behind since I was a little kid is Gonzaga. And finally had the opportunity to interview Mark Few. Have done it a few times, pun fully intended. Got to speak with Drew Timme, as well as a bunch of players on the team, actually. Jillian Struther. So you were at Gonzaga, Bradley, Northwestern State, Indiana University, all of this before coming to Binghamton. So two-part, what did you learn from your other experiences that have assisted you in doing what you're doing successfully at Binghamton? And secondly, please bring me through the halls of Gonzaga for a minute as a fan.
Okay. So what have I learned from other places? Every place I've been to, you learn something a little bit different, especially from who would be my director of athletics, my boss at the time. Gonzaga, it's about benefaction, finding benefactors to support what the vision is. And so my role there was associate AD for development, and then associate AD for external on my last year or two. So that was on the fundraising side, and then also on the communication side. So finding the people who had the inclination, the interest to give. And Gonzaga was, I'll say, a little bit of an easy sell, because when I was there, we were on the rise. I'd been to the Sweet 16, been to multiple tournaments, as Gonzaga hasn't missed a tournament in probably 27 years now. But that is what I learned there. At Bradley, it was similar to what Binghamton is. It's a big, small town, Peoria, Illinois is. And so learning about how to really be a part of the community, and because the community supports the institution. And so that was there. At Northwestern State, I had a great AD in Greg Burke. He taught about really people, how the importance of developing relationships, and making sure that it's not a one-way street, that you're always giving back to the community. And so that was an awesome experience down in Louisiana for a couple of years. So walking through the halls of Gonzaga, So the McCarthy Athletic Center is if you haven't been to a game, I would highly suggest going, especially when the students are there and the kennel, because that is an experience that I think every college basketball fan should have, as when they play Zombie Nation right before the tip-off and the students are jumping up and down and literally the building is shaking. That's awesome. And so now they've had some renovations since I've left. They've added a couple practice courts. They've got a Hall of Fame finally. When I was there, they didn't have a Hall of Fame, so John Stockton wasn't recognized in a Hall of Fame. So now they've since rectified that. But yeah, it's been great to see not only what the men's program has done and what we did there at Gonzaga. We had a strategic business plan that said, for every new dollar coming in, how are we going to invest it? And obviously men's basketball, we needed to keep that going. But then the next one was women's basketball. We brought that up, sold out number of games every year, had season ticket base of over 3,000, and now they're a perennial top 20 team. So that's, walking through the McCarthy Athletic Center every day for work, it was a great experience. And it's something I'll cherish, being able to go on the road with the Zags, everything from, the Great Alaskan Shootout to the Maui Classic to multiple NCAA tournaments, games. My favorite is probably we played Illinois at the United Center one year with a great game there. But that was fun, and some of our student athletes, I'll cherish, my experiences with them, being able to travel on the road with them when I was at Gonzaga as well.
Yeah, and then we fast forward to here and what it is about Binghamton when you're selling this message, because you talked about fundraising, chief operating officer. You've worked like we talked about with your hand in so many different things at Binghamton University. What is the sell of Binghamton? Why Binghamton? I mean, I've been on campus, I've seen it, I've toured it, I've met the people, I've been around the coaches and student athletes. I can speak to why I would say Binghamton is worth looking at. But when you're out there and you're asking people to give of their time, give of their resources, what is it about Binghamton that you feel works in the conversation of giving and connecting, not just to the community of alumni, but to connecting to the community of upstate New York, the state of New York, and beyond that? What's the message?
I truly believe that people want to support the institution. Binghamton University is the driving, economic driver in our community. That along with the hospitals. So there's an interest from the very local community to say we want to make sure Binghamton is successful as an institution, because that's going to help drive our economy. So they want to essentially support that part of it. The other thing that we sell a lot is the academic achievements and the success of our student athletes outside of their competitions. We've got some great kids that go on and do great things. When COVID was happening and you had a lot of fifth years, we had so many student athletes walking out of here with MBAs or master's degree. And that was part of what Binghamton is. Binghamton is a high academic institution, and now we can sell the fact that we are training our student athletes beyond just what they're going to be on the field of play, but what they're going to do after they graduate. And so that's another thing that we sell, and I think it's easy for people to get behind, because there are definitely some professors and others who have been around the institution for a while that wanted to make sure that Binghamton's academic prowess wasn't, how do I say this? I guess that the athletic part of it didn't overshadow the academic side. And I think we have been able to find, Gene Marshall, myself, and our other administrators have been able to find that good balance of now athletic achievement while maintaining the academic success with our student athletes. And so that's probably the easiest way to sell this, what we do every day. And when we talk to whether it's our season ticket holders or prospective donors or people who support the programs, that's what I think that makes us a little bit different than some of these other ones. And there's a lot going on in college athletics right now with the House settlement and all that. But when you boil it down to it, one of the things they're not talking about is making sure student athletes are getting the degrees, and we do. We ask our student athletes, and we talk about, hey, what's your major? Okay, are you on schedule to graduate? What's your plans afterwards? And I think that's, we don't lose that aspect, even though what the current framework is for college athletics right now after this House settlement.
Is it difficult to look at the transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, the House settlement of a certain percentage of each institution supposed to go to student athletes? With all of this going on, is it difficult to buck the trend?
You just have to know who you are. And we know who we are. I will say the transfer portal is probably the toughest part for us, just because as our coaches have done an excellent job recruiting, once student athletes get so successful, it gets on the radar of Power 4 institutions. And so what we have to make sure that we do is create that valuable student athlete experience. So when, if they ever think about going there's at least a draw that says, hey, I've had a great experience. Hey, I'm on track to graduate and I know what I'm going to do afterwards. So yeah, another school can talk about, their travel they're going to do, going to the NCAA tournament. We try to develop as much as we can that student athlete experience. So when the transfer portal period's open for the respective sports, that our student athletes hopefully aren't thinking about that because of their experience here. Post house settlement, it's still to be determined. That's one that nobody has the answers. If you read our D1 ticker every day,
Yeah.
Got Power 4 ADs, don't know what it's going to do for them. We're working on it on a weekly basis to say, okay, if and when the house settlement gets approved, what does that look like for Binghamton? And we're going to do it in such a way that it doesn't, we don't go against what we stand for, which is the academics and athletic side of it. So that's just, I would say, making sure the institutions know who they are with all these different factors that are coming to play.
That coming here from Dennis Kalina, Binghamton University Senior Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief Operating Officer in this edition of the Bearcat Breakroom in our multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University, doing things you won't find anywhere else in this partnership, and we appreciate them so very much at Binghamton. Before I let you go, Dennis, I do want to get into the Rumble Ponies. We're going to do that inside a rapid fire, so you and I get to put each other on the hot seat. You typically don't get to ask any questions, so I'm going to let you ask them. These are in the moment. It's live to the world on video and audio, so we'll go back and forth. You get the first question. You can ask me anything in the world, and I have to answer it.
All right, so Dan, I learned something today as you were kind of highlighting your segment. Obviously, you've got me on, but your second segment is going to be about the North Carolina area. And so kind of walk me through how you go from talking to somebody at Binghamton to talking to ACC schools down in North Carolina.
Well, and I appreciate the question. To me, I've never been about making my world small. I've always been about doing things that I care about. Why pigeonhole yourself? Why make what you're doing tiny? And I've kind of just always been that way. Like, we had teleconferences with the ACC, and when Syracuse joined in 2013, and they're like, hey, you could talk to any coach. So I would get on there and I would talk to coaches all over the country, and I'd build relationships with the Dave Dorans and the Dave Clausens and the Steve Adazios, and getting to talk with Jimbo Fisher and Dabo Sweeney and so on and so forth. And so to me, the connection in North Carolina, like we've actually, I mean, I'm from New York, but we've built a second hub in Florida. We do a ton of work in Florida, and we've expanded to North Carolina. We've covered teams in North Carolina for over a decade. And believe it or not, and I'm rocking this today, the Brooklyn Pickle that is so well known in upstate New York and has 4 locations in upstate New York, they decided to expand to North Carolina, and of anywhere that they could go, they decided to put locations down in a state that I've worked with for many years. So the one in Southern Pines I'm partnered with, they opened just a few months ago. So on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, I'm proudly talking about that Brooklyn Pickle. If you listen to the commercial on my broadcasts, I may have given one of my impersonations that I've been doing for a while to kind of let people know the Brooklyn way. But yeah, I mean, how do I bond the two? Because Dennis, put simply, I want to make my world small in a good way. I don't think there's anybody on the table that I can't interview. And I think building relationships is imperative. And I think for me, if I just kind of stayed in one area, I'd always be yearning for more. And with over 5,000 guests on the show and people from all over the country and outside of the country that have watched and listened or been on the show, I don't ever want to stop building those connections and building those bridges. So what better way to live your little kid dreams than to wake up every morning saying, who's one new person I can meet, one new thing that I can do, one new idea I can bring forward. And it's never going to hurt you to know more people and to know more programs and create more opportunities. So how do I do it? Because I love it. Why do I do it? Because I love it. And it's just it's fun. It's a lot of fun to say that a dream that I had not only bonds to Binghamton, that Gene Marshall knows for many years. I was like, I want to work with Binghamton. This was a passion project for many years of me talking to coaches and really wanting to do this. And at the same time in North Carolina, just it kind of happened over time of the ACC. So it's something that people get used to here on the show. They never know what part of the country or out of the country we're going to be in. My question back to you, Dennis, being at the Rumble Ponies, I call them the Binghamton Mets. That's what's in my head. They're the Mets. They're part of the farm system, but I know they're.
I heard that. I didn't want to correct you.
No, no, you're good. It's a lot of people still. I feel like people still say it, but they are the Rumble Ponies, and they were the Stud Muffins. Thank God they're the Rumble Ponies now. And looking at the Rumble Ponies, building connections. I would love to build a bridge to them because I really appreciate what they're doing, and I've been out to, see them before, and hopefully get out to see them again. You threw out the first pitch with Mary Grimes. I've known Mary for many years. I knew her literally from the day that she was announced at Lemoyne all the way through to now. So you got to be out there with her. It was your first pitch ever. I believe it was Mary's. So what was that experience like?
Yeah, first I had to do some practice throwing earlier with my son to make sure that I would actually not throw a ball into the dirt. And sure enough, I was warming up with him, and I said, okay, we're gonna step it off to see how far it is. And all right, here's my first pitch. And sure enough, my first pitch with him was in the dirt. He's like, all right, Dad, you got to do something. So you got a little bit of nerves when you got people that you don't know that are watching you and going to be judging you, and you always hope that you're not that person that they say the worst first pitches. Yeah. So I definitely shouldn't make that reel of worst first pitches. But no, it was great to have the Rumble Ponies be able to give us that opportunity to kind of give us a spotlight, and for me to be able to throw out the first pitch, really to highlight what Binghamton did with this past year with the Commissioner's Cup, and for Mary to, it was her introduction to a new group of people, sports fans that might not have been coming to Binghamton games. So hopefully with her being there and with me being there, people will learn a little bit more about what we do if they didn't already know, because there are, even though we're a big small town, there are still some people who don't know everything about Binghamton University. So appreciative of having that opportunity to go out and throw a first pitch with Mary.
Yeah, and I've never done it before, but I can imagine if and when that time comes, like you do have to practice, because you get on that mound and you're like, please don't let me be the person that throws it into the stands or throws it 2 feet ahead of me. So what's your next question for me, Dennis?
All right, so I guess I'll steal one from another podcast I have. Tell me about the one thing that's made you think differently. And it's very open-ended.
Yeah, the one thing that's made me think differently. I would say God above everything is why I don't really think the way the world thinks. I would say, to that point, what's made me think differently, today's world it's strange. It seems like there's a lack of common sense in a lot of ways. And so it's made me have to, I actually did a video last night, and it's made me have to take a step back and say, and I've called my dad and said, Dad, what's going on? Why is there a lack of common sense? Why is there a lack of compassion? And why are people so angry all the time? They're angry on the road. They're angry in the store. People are comfortable yelling at each other. They're comfortable mocking each other. And, I was a kid that was bullied in high school. So I look at social media and I say, now you can be bullied after 3 p.m. You could be bullied your whole life. And I have a friend who took his life from being in a situation that apparently got to him a certain way. And after he died, after he took his life, there were still people bullying him, putting messages on his memorial. And I can't even stomach that right now. And so what's made me think differently? I think this current state of the world has asked me to take everything that I believe in and to be unapologetic and unafraid to put it out there, to take the toolbox, to take the weapons against destruction and hate and the devil and negativity, and to use those weapons, to use that shield, to use that sword, and to get on this field for God and see what I can do to help. I have always been one to pray for people that are victims, but also to pray for the perpetrator. And people would ask me, well, how could you pray for someone that does something bad? And I said, quite simply, because if you don't pray for the perpetrator to turn toward God, then there will always be more victims. And so, I mean, what's made me think differently? God and this world. And I mean, God's always had my heart and my mind, and I think this world is challenging me to continue to be myself as much as I was when I started my career, because we live in a country where freedom of speech is if you agree with who's speaking. And freedom of speech is freedom of speech. It's not freedom to be rude. It's not freedom to swear. It's not freedom to discriminate. But it is free. And there's a lot of censorship that's going on. There's a lot of things on social media. And I think that I've now been challenged in this world to remember why I got into it, remember why I did it, and to speak the same ideals I spoke before in the name of God, even though the world may not want to hear them as much as they did back then.
Yeah, going off that, it's interesting when you said pray for the perpetrator. You always pray for the person who's been affected, the victim. I add in the pray for those who are around that person, especially if there's a loss and the way they are having to manage with the loss of somebody. But I've not contemplated, I guess, the praying for the perpetrator. So that's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's a child of God, and some get lost, but I think a lot of times when somebody's lost, we just say, stay lost, instead of hoping that that person finds their way back. My final question for you, Dennis, what has been your guiding light in your life? Something that you've been able to lean on when things were great, and also lean on when you were in the middle of a storm?
I guess I'll go back. So I'm a cancer survivor, and I had cancer as a child. So a neuroblastoma when I was less than a year old. And so my mother used to refer to me as a child of God, right? And so that meant I had a purpose on this earth. And so what I lean for is to say I was given an opportunity to continue to be on this earth, so I need to make a difference. And so I've chosen college athletics as my profession, and so my guiding light is how do I make a difference for our student athletes and what they do, and so I have that luxury of seeing a new batch of freshmen every year and getting to know them and think every day, every week, to say, okay, what can I do to help them through their 4 years? And sometimes they're turbulent 4 years for them, sometimes they're smooth, but hopefully me as an administrator and somebody they could talk to and they get to know that I'll help them get through their time so they can be successful after they leave their Binghamton or the other universities that I've been at.
Well, I'm happy that you have made it through there. I always call it cancer thrivers. And so, I mean, I'm sorry you went through it. I'm sorry your family went through that. But I'm happy that you're here. And once again, I mean, easily you could have said, this happened to me, and then talk about yourself. You talked about cancer for 2 seconds and then brought it right back to the student athletes. So the selflessness is definitely seen, Dennis, in your words and in your work and deed. I'm happy that we got to do this. I'll be down in Binghamton soon, and when I get to do that, so hopefully you and I will get to spend a few minutes in front of each other. I'm an old-fashioned guy, and my World War II grandparents taught me, you get in front of somebody. If you can't do that, you call them. If you can't do that, well, they didn't have it back then, but I would text. So text is my third and final choice, not my first. So hopefully you and I can do something in person soon. and sit down with each other. But I just want to let you know, and I want to let the whole team know at Binghamton University, again, that this means a lot to me. This is something that, like I said, 3.5 years ago, I was like, man, I really would love to work with Binghamton. And the fact that this is happening and I get to spotlight Binghamton University, people like yourself, as well as, all the work of the coaches and the student athletes, alumni, people that are involved in some way, shape, or form, those that are retiring like we just did recently. It means a lot to me to tell the story of Binghamton, and I've met some wonderful people that really have a good heart and a desire to help. So I just want to say thank you to you and to Binghamton University in general for giving me the opportunity to do something that I really set out to do a long time ago, which was be able to have these conversations that go far beyond a simple quote or a tweet or, something you'd read in an article, that it allows people to see those behind the scenes like yourself, as well as those that are in front of the scenes all the time, and to get to know people beyond wins and losses. So I wanted to say thank you.
No, we appreciate you being able to shine a brighter light into maybe a different audience that we've had before. So it's been great. The one thing I will have to do, Dan, is I'll probably have to send you a Binghamton pennant. So behind you, I see Lemoyne. So yeah. We'll have to have Binghamton somewhere behind you.
Yeah. Yes, I have. I was literally, every time I turn on, and please know that this isn't lost on me. So I do have a Binghamton towel, but I was like, okay. The towel, I got a little rally towel, and I had my fin here, and I was like, I need something else for Binghamton that's bigger, and I think about it over my shoulder when I'm looking at the shot, so I will gladly accept any Binghamton thing that I can put up here, as we actually had some things behind here, so we're redesigning this whole area right now, and there's some jerseys that I've made promises to, but yeah, when I get down there, let's make sure that we have something to throw up here Binghamton University wise. I'm happy that you caught it, because in my head I'm like, I need a B somewhere. So I look
that
forward
goes from
to
my
that.
Marketing background, and obviously with Tony Kornheiser and what he does, so you're kind of like the next media entities that supports Binghamton. So I want to make sure that we get represented for, even when you're talking to the folks in North Carolina here coming up.
Yeah, I absolutely 1,000% agree with you. We are on the same page. So Dennis Kalina, always selling Binghamton, and I appreciate that. So Dennis, for you, for Binghamton University, the Senior Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief Operating Officer, it has been my pleasure to have you in this Bearcat break room in our partnership with Binghamton University, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Take care. Thank you. That coming once again from Dennis Kalina here in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University. We appreciate you for being here. And I love that he said that, because I have been sitting here for these last couple months saying, I want to get something Binghamton that we can put out here. We have so many things, folks, by the way. If you take a look here, there's so many things on, because we extended out the shelving. So there is a world, and everything has meaning that's out here. There's the D-backs for the Diamondbacks, the rally. There is my wake-up call T-shirt that's signed by Chris Joseph of Syracuse basketball history, who's a friend. There is the Miller time from my grandfather, my Pop Miller, my dad's dad. There's my Jaguars. There's my time with the Dolphins when I actually got to swim and hang out with dolphins, and there's my Hope Makes the Impossible Possible sign here, and so much more that is all here. So we got Binghamton. Definitely got to put something back there, and if I had it right now, it would have been up. So we got to go get it. That's what it comes down to. So I look forward to it, and look forward to finding something special. And thanks to Dennis Kalina for joining the show today. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. All of you that have come here for the ACC, we will have plenty coming up in my coverage of the Atlantic Coast Conference of, what is this, going into 12 years, I think it is, with the ACC. Duke Blue Devils will come up first, followed by the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and then we'll have the NC State Wolfpack and the North Carolina Tar Heels. All four are proudly presented by Brooklyn Pickle, specifically in Southern Pines, right by Pinehurst Golf Courses, very notable golf courses worldwide, and they were just there golfing some of the best this year. So the Southern Pines location on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, that Brooklyn Pickle is proudly presenting all of the North Carolina-based ACC schools in my conversations coming up next. The Duke Blue Devils, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the NC State Wolfpack, and the North Carolina Tar Heels join you and I after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Proud to be hanging out here with you every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's time to get into our conversations with the ACC and their North Carolina-based schools, Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, and North Carolina. And all of these conversations on Wake Up Call are proudly presented by the wonderful, wonderful restaurant, wonderful sandwich shop, the sandwich shop, Brooklyn Pickle, on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. So let's start it off with the Duke Blue Devils and new head coach, who's not new to the conference. He was the D coordinator of the Miami Hurricanes under Mark Richt. He brought the turnover chain to the Miami Hurricanes. Then he was going to Temple, and Mark Richt decided to step aside, and then he went to Miami, became the head coach of Miami, and now he is the Duke Blue Devils head football coach. And it is always my pleasure to speak with the one and only Manny Diaz, and this is what he had to say.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Coach, we know your familiar face here in the conference and obviously your time that you spent at Miami. For the Duke Blue Devils, for you, what was it that spoke to you more than anything else about this program? We've seen it have success. We've seen stints of success. What made you believe that this was the right fit for you personally and that there can be sustained success at Duke?
Yeah, I think everything starts with alignment. And so, I mentioned, knowing Feely was here, hearing some of the commentary from some of the coaches on the staff the last couple of years that I had worked with previously. I had some inside baseball on what was going on and contributing to their success the last couple of years. But that wouldn't be enough without the dedicated support, starting from the president, Vincent Price, through our AD, Nina King. Duke wants to be excellent at football. They want to sustain excellence at football. And I do believe, look, everyone's aware of the turbulence in college football right now. And I do believe that Duke is uniquely poised in a way that other schools aren't. Because as I mentioned before, generally speaking, the parents who drop their young men off at our doorstep as freshmen, it's very important to those families that those young men graduate from Duke University. So we still have a chance to develop a roster. Now we got to take care of our guys. We got to be smart and make the student athlete experience worthwhile to stay. But if we do our end of the bargain, our players want to be at Duke. And what that allows us to do is that allows us to build a roster the way that it's been done for a long time, that right now the forces of college football are always trying to tear apart.
Coach, for the podium,
and speaking on that and taking a look at what Manny Diaz had to say in that moment, that there's forces that are trying to tear collegiate athletics apart, and at Duke, they're seeking to keep it together. They're seeking to have the student athletes get an education from Duke. And he said, we have to take care of what we need to take care of. The leadership there wants, the president and the athletics director want to have a successful football program, and they want to have, families know that their kids are going to graduate from that. It's when we look at the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, no one's sitting here talking about graduation, right? Making sure that these kids get a degree so these young men and women when they're finished playing their sport, will have something to go to next, something to live the majority of their life in. People forget when you look at this athletic world that, the only time you might be playing the sport that you love, or the last time you may be playing the sport that you love, I should say, is in college. And then once it's done, you're 21 years old, and what are you going to do if you don't have a degree? And then you look at, okay, maybe you play for 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, now you're 31. What are you going to do if you don't have a degree? So I like the fact that Manny spoke on that and the importance of trying to hold on to the student-athlete model and take care of it at Duke, just like we heard Dennis Kalina say at Binghamton University. Manny Diaz and I got to continue our conversation, this time speaking on his mentors.
Coach, when you look back at mentorship for you as like you said, discipline, teaching these guys discipline, and in a lot of cases being the first person to do that, who taught you that responsibility, that discipline, some of those mentors that you reach back from into your toolbox for that wisdom when you need it?
Well, I think first, you're taught how you're raised. I mean, my parents are the first lesson you're going to receive is from them. So the first credit goes to them. In this profession in particular, I'm so fortunate to break in at Florida State in the late 90s, and to sit there when football staffs were so small back then. I was like one of 15 in the staff room, and you got Bobby Bowden at the end of the table, you got Mickey Andrews and Chuck Amato to your right, you have Mark Richt as the offensive coordinator to your left. I mean, holy cow, what a room of people to learn from. And so to be with Coach Bowden for 3 years, to go to NC State with Coach Amato for 6 years. So really the first 9 years of my career was raised in the Florida State way. Then to go to Middle Tennessee with Rick Stockstill, who really, again, is a Coach Bowden disciple. So over the first decade of my career, 3 jobs, really all taught from the Bobby Bowden way. The guy won more games than I think anybody ever. So it was like getting a PhD in what it takes to be great at football.
Coach, thank you.
So when we look at that and look at this conversation that I had the opportunity to have with Manny Diaz as he speaks about the people that he had the opportunity to work with, to think about that in your own life. Who are some that have inspired you? Who have some that, that have been a part of your life, that have given you the opportunity to grow, to challenge yourself, to advance, to learn about something new, or to learn about something that you know, but from a different angle? Manny Diaz, very happy that he's back in the ACC. And always a pleasure to speak with him. And I feel good about him at Duke. I'm looking forward to his leadership there, and I hope it works out. Continuing our conversation with the North Carolina-based schools of the ACC here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. These are all brought to you by the Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina. So if you're a fan of Duke, a fan of Wake Forest, a fan of NC State, a fan of North Carolina, or a fan of whoever, you could go and see Brooklyn Pickle and get the best sandwich you have ever had in your life, arguably, in my opinion, by going to the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Next up in the conversation with the Duke Blue Devils is Grayson Loftus, and here's what he had to say.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Grayson, not only are you competing on the field with Murphy, but you're competing here today, the opportunity to speak to the media and go into the season. Did anything go into any type of fun between what you're wearing, what he's wearing, some of the interviews, some of the things that you guys are doing? Have you tried to have a playful banter back and forth as you both work to be signal callers for Duke?
I think it all just comes natural. I think from the first moment when we introduced ourselves in our meeting room, it was just all about us having a good chemistry, and we hit it all right there. Just being the ability to just be able to joke around and crack jokes with the guy, and really push yourself to be the best player and push another guy to be the best player in kind of an informal way. Being able to have fun while you do it. You don't realize you're getting better. You're just out having fun with a buddy at practice.
And that coming from Grayson Loftus, and speaking on that, because him and this was interesting. It's something that's been done over the last couple of years at the ACC kickoff, which was atypical, at least to me beforehand, was to have 2 quarterbacks on the same team there representing the team. I mean, typically you would have an offensive member, a defensive member. Back, way back, I don't want to say way back, but, within the last decade or so, you would have offense and defense. Some teams would have a member of the offense, member of defense, member of special teams, so they would all have all three phases represented. Some would bring special teams and offense, special teams and defense. Typically, you saw offense and defense, but you almost never saw two quarterbacks in the same season. And then I think Florida State did it with Mike Norvell when they had Mackenzie Milton and Jordan Travis show up as they were competing for the job together. We saw it this year with multiple teams, and Duke being one of them. So you just heard from Grayson Loftus, a quarterback on the roster for the Duke Blue Devils. Malik Murphy, another quarterback on the roster who transferred in to Duke. This is what Malik had to say when I had the opportunity to speak with him.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Malik, going off of what I asked Grayson, what's that relationship been like for you to work together and challenge each other? Just what you've taken, like you said, 7 months. What has that relationship been like as far as who you are today on the field?
It's been great. Honestly, I couldn't ask for Grayson to be any better of a person and as a kind of like a partner to work with. Him being here, him having the experience and the knowledge of Duke as a program, and knowing the people that's been here, that's come through here, that are here currently, he's able to help me get a better feel for everywhere and everyone that's around me. And that's Henry as well. I ask all of those guys questions. So I'm a big kind of like want to know new stuff type of person. So I don't mind asking questions. Anything that comes into my mind, I let them know it. So I'm definitely grateful for them.
And so Malik and Grayson having a relationship that sounds like, it's a competition, but they're also helping each other out, helping each other to move forward. And Grayson, as well as others on the Duke Blue Devils team, helping Malik Murphy to get acclimated and get comfortable within this, right? Comfortable in what's going on. So Malik Murphy, after this conversation that we got to have at ACC kickoff, he won the starting job and will start the opener against Elon. And that was announced within this past week. So I think it was announced last Monday on August 19th. So Malik Murphy will be the starting quarterback. Grayson Loftus and Malik, both quarterbacks on this team. And next up in the conversation with the Duke Blue Devils is my opportunity to share with you my Q&A with another representative on the team, and that being Jalen Stinson. So Jalen Stinson up next here. You got to hear from both of the quarterbacks, and now you'll have the opportunity to hear from Jalen Stinson. And Jalen Stinson here on the roster for the team, the work that he has done on this Duke Blue Devils team at the defensive back position, a safety on the team. He is a returning starting safety, a preseason All-ACC selection to the third team, and he had 31 starts so far in 49 career games, 217 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 10 pass breakups, 1 caused fumble, 3 fumble recoveries, 1 quarterback pressure, and 1 muffed punt recovery for a touchdown. And you add into that 66 kickoff returns for Stinson for 1,553 yards, which is 23.53 yards on average per return, and 2 scores on those kickoff returns. So special teams and defense, Jalen Stinson, here's what he had to say in our coverage of the ACC with these 4 North Carolina-based schools, proudly presented today by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Jalen, like you talked about, testing the waters and didn't really know what was going to happen in the coaching change. What was it about Manny Diaz that spoke to you and said, my 5th year at Duke, it's better to spend it at home where I am than to go elsewhere? What did Manny Diaz say?
He's a stand-up guy. We all had doubt, and the first day he made it here, he called us up personally, and that meant a lot for me because at that time, being my last year, I'm not sure where I'm gonna be. You know, he cleared a few things up with me, and I knew he had the best interest in me. But not only that, I feel like it wasn't just me. It was the locker room as well, you know, and just the culture and everything we built in that locker room. It speaks for itself. I feel like there's not another locker room like ours. It's truly a brotherhood at Duke football. So.
Stay
So
right there.
talking about the brotherhood with the Duke Blue Devils, and speaking on Manny Diaz being a stand-up guy, asking Jalen Stinson, why not try to jump to the NFL right now? Why test the waters and find your way back? And he liked what Manny Diaz had to say and made the decision to stay with the Duke Blue Devils. So good to see that and good to hear that as Duke gets set for their upcoming season and their first game against Elon, which is coming up here very, very soon. So with that being said, we're going to jump to Wake Forest in our coverage of the Atlantic Coast Conference here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for over a decade. And with these North Carolinian schools, my Q&A is proudly presented with the Duke Blue Devils, Wake Forest Demon Deacons, NC State Wolfpack, and North Carolina Tar Heels by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Make sure you go and visit them. Let them know that DT sent you. And I appreciate y'all down in North Carolina for your support and love over the years. We're going to start things off with Dave Clausen, who I've spent many years with. I believe the entire time he's been at Wake Forest, I have spoken with Dave Clausen. So I know the majority of the time, if not the whole time that he's been there, we have had the opportunity to talk, and I thank the ACC for that with teleconferences as well as things like the ACC kickoff. Here's Dave Clausen, the head coach of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, on who is the ACC. Who are they right now? When we look at the ACC and the additions that have been made over time with Miami and Boston College and Virginia Tech, now having West Coast schools, what is this portfolio of the ACC? What does it look like, and how would he describe it? Here's Dave Clausen.
When you look at the fact that this conference being built from the Carolinas out and then seeing over the years the Syracuses and the Boston Colleges and the Miamis and now looking at the West Coast, how would you define what this ACC is now becoming? Because you talked about getting multiple spots in the college football playoff. What is the resume? What is the portfolio, so to speak?
Well, I think the ACC is still a very unique conference because of the makeup of the schools. Right, I think right now college football has become very much professionalized, and I still think that we're a conference that the graduation rates, the academics, the life experiences matter, even though I think those value systems seem to be mocked. I think when our commissioner gets up and says those things, that people mock him for it or like look at it as so idealistic, but you know, for me as someone who got into college football, I mean, I still believe in those things at Wake Forest. I mean, I think it's cool that we're in a conference with Stanford and Duke and Boston College and Virginia and North Carolina and Georgia Tech and all these other schools that are not just good football schools, but really highly respected academic institutions that our players have to go to class and they get meaningful degrees. And I would bet our graduation rates continue to set the standard for college football. Now, nobody cares about that anymore. They don't. I care about that for our program. We have a 97% graduation success rate. It's the second highest in all of college football. Nobody cares. But I care. That matters to me. And so if other people say, well, he's lost touch with the times and that's not college football now, that's fine. I sleep at night knowing that we're not using our players just to play football. That when they leave our program, they're going to have degrees. They're going to be able to get jobs after football and good jobs that they enjoy, and they're going to use their education and they're going to have options. And to me, it's still the heart and soul of what we do. Now, again, people laugh at that and mock it, but I got into this 36 years ago because I had coaches that cared about that stuff, and I continue to care about it.
That coming from Dave Clausen, caring about the education. It seems like that theme is running from our conversation in the Bearcat Breakroom with Dennis Kalina at Binghamton University to the Duke Blue Devils to what we're hearing with Wake Forest now of, that the 97% success rate, right? The 97% that they want you to graduate. They want you to get a degree. That, Dave Clawson said, hey, our commissioner, Jim Phillips, gets laughed at when he talks about it. Nobody cares, but I care that we take this seriously, that the conference takes it seriously, that Wake Forest takes it seriously. So I appreciate that. And Dave has always been somebody that he's going to speak about what he, at least in my opinion, he's going to tell you what he thinks in that moment. He's going to tell you what matters to him. And he's going to tell you what to him should be in focus. Dave Clawson's put together a successful program, and I've defended Wake Forest. Now, I didn't go to Wake Forest. I'm not from Winston-Salem. But real recognizes real. And Dave Clawson has put in a lot of work to take a school that's highly academic, to take a school that doesn't have a huge enrollment like some of the other schools of the ACC, and to put together a football program that is not only successful on the field from season to season, but they're sending guys to the NFL. And obviously, you're taking care of the classroom work. So I commend Dave Clawson for having a successful football program at a competitive scholastic university and doing it with a focus on what matters to him, regardless of what is mattering in this giant wave of NIL, transfer portal, house settlements, NCAA reconfiguring who they are. What did I say in hour number 1? A challenge for me and probably you in today's world is to remain yourself in an ever-changing, ever-evolving world, sometimes devolving world, to continue to be who you are and to continue to fight for the things that you believe are right, even when the world says that they are wrong, even when you feel like you're standing alone. And I'm sure that when Dave Clawson said that to me sitting there, he said, nobody cares. Nobody cares about education, but I do. So he feels that, but he still stands by that. Now, that might not be the soundbite that people want. It might not be the soundbite people are looking for. They want to hear about the quarterback and the running back and defensive back and what are they doing in the world of their linebackers and da-da-da-da-da and scheming. But Dave Clawson is someone who goes beyond the big pictures things. And I appreciate it. And I enjoy talking with him about things that are beyond X's and O's. He has proven that he can care about the things that go beyond football and still have a successful football program. And so I commend him. I thank him. And I hope that there's more coaches out there that care like he does about the person and not just who can get me some touchdowns. So thank you, Dave Clawson, for your time. Brought to you by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Let's continue with Wake Forest and Jasheen Davis.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Your coach talked about the fact that you could all be in the NFL at this point. Why continue to play for Dave Clawson? Why continue to stay at Wake Forest and see this through all the way to the end?
Well, it's a multitude of reasons. For one, I respect Coach Clawson a lot. I feel like he's a man of integrity. I feel like that he's not just a football coach. I feel like he's a life coach. So just being at an institution like Wake Forest sets me up not just for the NFL, but for life as well. Second, like we said last year, it didn't really go too good for us, and I feel like that, that this offseason we worked out with a chip on our shoulders. Our mantra was earn it, and I feel like they made earn everything we do. And lastly, education. Wake Forest is one of the top educational schools in the country, and I feel like that coming back from my last season allowed for me to get my degree, and then also I'm thankful for World of Quad. They blessed all of us in a way for us to be financially stable. So just those reasons alone, I feel like what made me come back and just wanted to maximize my opportunity as a Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
That coming from Jasheen Davis, a defensive end for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And we'll stay here with Wake Forest as we have an opportunity to hear from Devontae Gordon.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Devontae, you spoke on the fact that there are 17 starters coming back to this team. Just what it says not only about this team as a unit from the inside out, but what it says in a world of college football where we're not seeing things like that anymore.
17 starters being back speaks volumes. I'll say one, the amount of trust that we have in coach. Because, you're seeing a lot of players leave. All of these players coming back represents the program that we have here. And that last year wasn't an expectation. Last year wasn't a representation of us. And that we trust that, we trust each other to right what went wrong last year, and we trust that our coaches will lead us in the right way to, bring Wake Forest to where Wake Forest wants to be.
That coming here from Devontae Gordon, and Devontae Gordon, offensive tackle for the team. So hearing from Davis and Gordon on the defensive line and offensive line, respectively, building through the trenches and understanding that returning all these starters, again, atypical for the NIL world that we live in, but being able to return these starters and putting this team in a situation where they can take what didn't work out last year and say, okay, we got a bunch of our guys back. We have the opportunity to turn the tide, to change for the better, and to see what we can do and grow together. It's not, having 11 starters come back and having the opportunity to have a positive effect is huge because, again, it's something that can be lost in today's climate of name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal. So having familiar faces, it helps out. And it gives this team a chance to work together towards something that they know what it feels like. And as I've said before, and I've said earlier this week in videos, adversity makes us. It makes you. You need adversity. You need to have things that go on in life sometimes. In order for you to grow, we kind of have to go through the tough stuff. Not kind of, we do. And so that's something that I think we have to pay attention to, is to go through that adversity. And the fact that this team has gone through it together and a bunch of them are back to learn from it and grow from it and show what they can become on the other side of adversity says a lot about Wake Forest and what they're looking to do. With that being said, we're going to finish our time with Wake Forest here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, with Taylor Morin. Taylor joining the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with my Q&A with him, the wide receiver and special teams returner, also returning to the team. And this is what Taylor had to say when I had the opportunity to speak with him.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Taylor, over 160 catches, over 2,200 yards receiving, and then you mentioned special teams, over 700 yards there. Of everything that we've seen from you already, what do you have left in the tank? What are we about to see this season?
Gotta leave it all out there, and that doesn't just start with me. It starts with all of our captains, all of our older 4th, 5th, 6-year guys. We're an old football team, and we're ready to leave it all out there, whether that's maximizing hours in the weight room, in the film room, making sure we're doing everything right from a sleep and nutrition perspective. It's really our last go around for a lot of us guys. So whatever it takes to win, we're ready to do that and get Wake Forest right back where it belongs.
Talking about being willing to do whatever it takes. Taylor joining the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, that it's not just one, it is the collective. It is an entire group of student athletes, coaches, and really everyone at Wake Forest working together toward a common goal of getting farther than they have and achieving the things that they set out to achieve. So Taylor, thank you for your time, as well as Jasheen and Devontae for being a part of the show, and of course head coach Dave Clausen, as we continue our coverage of the ACC heading into the 2024-25 college football season. You heard from the Duke Blue Devils, you've heard from the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Coming up after this fast break, you'll hear from the NC State Wolfpack and the North Carolina Tar Heels, proudly presented by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. So to all my North Carolinians, and for those that are going into town, to my Duke fans, Wake Forest fans, NC State fans, and North Carolina fans, find your way over to the Brooklyn Pickle and have a sandwich that you probably have never had anything like it, and definitely not as much food as you get with these. A half is a whole is like having two sandwiches, and those sandwiches are stacked up and a lot of different things to choose from. We know the Brooklyn Pickle up here in New York. You're getting to know it down in North Carolina. So to my North Carolina-based teams, to my North Carolina fans, and to those traveling in North Carolina and in the community, head out to 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by Pinehurst Golf Courses, to try the Brooklyn Pickle. And I'm telling you right now, you're never going to want to get a sandwich anywhere else. It is truly, truly not only good for your taste buds, but definitely more food than you're used to getting in today's world sitting down for a meal. So you got something for now, something for later, and something for somebody you love. Go to the Brooklyn Pickle and bring a friend, bring a family member, and try what these great sandwiches have brought to the state of New York, now down in North Carolina. See the difference, taste the difference, and enjoy the difference at Brooklyn Pickle, 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they're always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're gonna be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever gonna have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Proud to be here with you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, we typically go over past 11 o'clock almost always, so make sure you stay with us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archives. You'll find them on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. So make sure you check them out today by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Continuing the conversation inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' with the North Carolinian-based schools of the ACC, proudly presented by the Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right down the road, just a few minutes from the Pinehurst Golf Courses. You heard from the Duke Blue Devils and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. It's now time to hear from the NC State Wolfpack and a coach that I've known for a very long time and have a lot of respect for, and that is NC State Wolfpack head coach Dave Doran. Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. How are you?
Good, bud.
Looking at the fact that, like you said, you've spent a lot of time within the ACC, you've seen change. You've seen new institutions come in now, SMU, Cal, Stanford. We see accomplished greatness, but when you look at this conference throughout, how would you define it, and who's coming in and what this looks like as you step forward as a coach, one of the longest tenured coaches in the conference?
You know, I think maximizing the gift that God gave you, to me, one of the tenets, one of the standards of our program is no underachievement allowed, and I think that's just maximizing the opportunity you have as a person. Accomplishing greatness is that, when you go to bed and lay your head down at night, did you do everything you could that day to be the best version of yourself? And if I get enough players and coaches to do that on a daily basis compared to those we compete against, the score ends up being the consequence of those actions. And, what does greatness look like for NC State? Obviously, we want to hold that trophy up at the end of the year. Okay, and there's a lot of ways to define it. But day in and day out, it's about maximizing the gift. I think we're all, you expect to wake up every day. You expect for things to be a certain way, and we all know that's not reality. Every day we get is a blessing. And so taking advantage of that blessing is something that, the older I get, the more that I value. I do, and really the relationships and the gratitude I have for the staff that I get to work with, for the players that I get to coach. I mean, I got a great job. I got great guys to work with, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that these guys are here. I'm thankful that they're getting ready to go to work and the work they put in this summer. And they know it's going to be hard, and I look forward to that with them. When you talk about accomplishing greatness, I don't think it's just something you can define in one sentence. I mean, football seasons are crazy. I mean, the emotional swings that take place day to day, minute to minute, the amount of things that happen over the course of the year and how fast it goes within that million things that goes on. It's going to be a fun journey with these guys. And so just, really thankful for the opportunity to do this with them and looking forward to where it goes.
Hearing that from Dave Doran and just speaking on maximizing your God-given talent, maximizing the time that you have, and appreciating the days, right? When you wake up in the morning, to be proud of that. Speaking on the bigger things that go far beyond football, to really speak to all of us that are watching and listening on Wake Up Call this morning from all around the world. And that's what this show has been about. It's what it's always been about. It's what I've always been about. And you know, our tagline for Wake Up Call is where sports meets life. And that conversation with Dave Doran is showing you that, where sports meets life. It's, do you appreciate every breath you take, the talents that you have? What do you do with those? He said the older I get, the more he appreciates who he gets to work with, the players that he gets to coach, the coaches that he gets to be there with as well, to just take in the moment. Dave Doran has been an asset, in my opinion. He's been an asset to NC State. Now, some people, when they were talking about, oh, he was going to go to Tennessee and this and that, there was people that kind of forgot what he's done. And I want to remind people that he's been at NC State since 2013. So really, since I started covering the ACC with interviews and whatnot, he went 3-9, 8-5, 7-6, 7-6, 9-4, 9-4, 4-8, 8-4, 9-3, 8-5, 9-4. So you look at how many seasons he's had where he's had at least 8 wins. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, with 7 of his 12 seasons have been at least 8 wins. 7 of his 12. And then 9 of his 12 winning records of at least 7 wins. 9 of 12. So something to be said about the work that he's put forward. His first season was 3-9. That's typical of a coach coming in. And he went 4-8 in another season. Outside of that, 7 of 12, like I said, of having the record. Well, I think in 12 years they're counting. Yeah, they're counting this year, aren't they? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They're counting this season. So this season hasn't been obviously accounted. I was going to say he only has 2 losing seasons. So I should say going into 2024, Dave Doran, 7 of 11 seasons with 8 wins or more, 9 of 11 seasons with 7 wins or more with a winning record. So in 9 of his 11 seasons coaching the NC State Wolfpack football program, in 9 of 11 seasons he's had a winning record. In 7 of those 11 seasons he's had 8 or 9 wins. And here comes 2024. They've been to plenty of bowl games while he's been the head coach. They've been to the St. Petersburg Bowl, the Belk Bowl, the Independence Bowl, the Sun Bowl, the Gator Bowl twice, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and the Pop-Tarts Bowl last season. Sure, he wants to have a better record there, but they have 3 wins, and they've made it to the postseason numerous times. Dave Doran, to me, the person, the man with his staff that's been able to find, and I've said it before and I'll echo it again, he doesn't just find talent that's good enough to play in the ACC or good enough to compete in Division I-A FBS football. Him and his staff have a way of finding high school, prep school talent and looking at this kid and saying, this kid can play for us, but they can also play in the NFL. You don't send guys to the NFL on accident, especially multiple guys to the NFL. So to me, Dave Doran and his staff have a way of sifting through all of the names and faces and videos and highlight reels and this, that, and whatever to find talent that's not only good enough to be at NC State, but that they can see have the capability of making it to the NFL. You don't become a bridge to the NFL by accident. And Dave Doran and his staff, in my opinion, have done a great job to put about NFL talent at multiple positions. So, shout out to the Wilsons and the Chubbs and the Matt Days of the world and so on and so forth of guys that advance on to the NFL and find success there. lot of respect for that and the work that Dave Doran is doing. Let's continue with NC State, proudly presented by the Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Make sure you head over there. To all my fans of the ACC, of Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, North Carolina, and beyond that, head out to, in my opinion, a sandwich shop you're not going to find anywhere else. Grayson McCall is up next. He comes from Coastal Carolina as a transfer quarterback via the portal. This is what Grayson had to say when I had the opportunity to speak with him as he leads NC State this season. Grayson, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. You went into it a little bit of your relationship with Coach and why that spoke to you, but you said being around the guys, like something just sold you on the Wolfpack to know that there's one more ride, one more opportunity this season for you. What is it about the culture and the environment of this team that you felt like had to be a place for you to spend that last year?
You know, the best football teams I've been on are player-led teams, and you get that vibe right when you walk into the building. You have guys like Davin Van and players that have been there a long time that have put in the work and kind of set the standard and continue to build on it year in, year out. And, you know, sitting down talking to the guys, I mean, it really, I know everybody says it, but like it truly is like a family identity in that building. Like the guys love each other, and it's a special place to be. Like Coach said, like he's around great staff, great players. Like he loves doing what he do, and like I'm the same exact way. You walk in that building and like it's a good time to be there. Like it's exciting to be in there with the guys. And I mean, whenever I walked in and walked out on my visit, I knew that was the place for me. And you know, a lot of buzz in Raleigh right now with you know, obviously the men's and women's basketball team and baseball. So a lot of energy, a lot of support from the fans in the community, and ready to get this thing going, take this momentum, and keep it going. So thank you.
That coming from Grayson McCall, coming over from Coastal Carolina. I spoke about Grayson McCall a little bit when when we were doing our first show of the football season. Inside of Wake Up Call, we have a segment called Tortora and Alford, which is a product of Wake Up Call and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. And Isaac Alford joining me. We were talking about Syracuse, going through Syracuse's schedule, and we were discussing the NC State game and speaking on Grayson McCall and what Grayson's done in his time at Coastal Carolina and his numbers. Now, Grayson McCall, who was at Coastal for 5 seasons, but the first season wasn't really out there. And so the first season, you call that a redshirt year in 2019-20. And then in 2020-2021, he played, but everyone was granted an extra year of eligibility. So he's had 3 seasons since then, and he has 1 more season at NC State. So he's technically going to be in college for 6 years, but thanks to COVID, has the opportunity to, one of the positive things that came from a really strange and weird and frustrating time in the world and in America, that's something positive that came out of it. Student athletes getting another season at their school or to transfer somewhere else, like we're seeing with Grayson McCall. Now, Grayson in 2020, when he was the starter, 68.8% completion percentage, 2,488 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 3 picks. 2021-22, 73% completion percentage, 2,558 passing yards, 23 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. 2022-23, 69.1% completion percentage, 2,633 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And going through injury last season, we did see him in 2023-24 with a 67.4% completion percentage, 1,919 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So in all the seasons where he's been the starter in these 4 years at Coastal Carolina, he has never thrown double-digit interceptions. In 3 out of 4 seasons, he's thrown 3 interceptions or less for each of those seasons. The most interceptions he's ever thrown are 6 in a season, and his interceptions 14, his touchdowns 88 passing. He has over 10,000 passing yards in his time at Coastal Carolina, and his completion percentage as a college football quarterback on average is 69.9%. Now, playing in the Sun Belt with Coastal Carolina, he has some challenges. Now he's going to have some new challenges with the teams he's going to face off against in the ACC. We'll see how Grayson McCall does, but those numbers looking pretty darn spicy, if I say so myself, for the NC State Wolfpack quarterback. Coming up next here is Davin Van. Davin Van, defensive end on the NC State Wolfpack. This is what Davin had to say when I had the opportunity to speak with him. Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. The video, that decision for you to come back, just that moment, going through that whole process, bring me into that and how much fun that was to do with your family, and also the why of doing that. Because when we hear from NC State, there's something about when you're there, you stay. And Coach was talking about, that nucleus, that culture. So why did you decide to do it one more time?
There were a lot of things that I wanted to work on personally. And Coach Jordan has helped me a lot with those things, mentally, emotionally, and physically as well. But it was more the mental and emotional part. That was really one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to stay. And I also felt like there was a lot of unfinished business that I had to, wrap up before I left. So those were kind of the biggest factors in why I stayed.
And so looking at wanting to do more and that unfinished business of having more in the tank, more things to work on, honing yourself, making yourself better. And go and watch that video too. Go on the social media for Davin Van and check out his social media and see the video that I'm talking about that he did about his decision to stay in college and stay at NC State for one more season. And Jordan Waters, speaking of staying with NC State, we're going to stay with NC State for one more conversation here. And this is with Mr. Jordan Waters, running back of the NC State Wolfpack. And like I've said, under Dave Doran, they've had some good running backs. Jordan Waters spent all of his time at Duke so far, 5 seasons at Duke. But again, same situation as Grayson McCall, 2019-20, a redshirt year. 2020, he played, but that year given back to student athletes. So we're seeing him in his 6th year in college, and that year is going to be with the NC State Wolfpack, leaving Durham, North Carolina, where Duke plays, and coming over to Raleigh, North Carolina, where we will, not too far away, where we'll see him play in red and white as a member of the NC State Wolfpack. Jordan Waters on the ground for Duke in 2020 had 16 carries for 100 yards, 6.3 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. In 2021-22, 39 carries, 197 yards, and 5.1 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. 2022-23, from 39 carries, he went the year before to 120 the following season, 561 yards, 4.7 yards a carry. So right by 5 yards a carry like he was the year before, after almost quadrupling the amount of carries that he had from 39 to 120, 8 rushing touchdowns. Last season, 142 carries, the most he's ever had, 753 yards, the most he's ever had, 5.3 yards a carry, second best ever for him, and 12 rushing touchdowns last season. Looking forward to seeing what he could do in the red and white for NC State. Staying in the state of North Carolina, Jordan Waters, this is what he had to say. Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Jordan, for you, there's a history at NC State of some strong running backs, and what does that mean to be able to carry that torch? You have one more season, one more go at it. How would you like to be remembered in that long line of reputable running backs?
I got one more year, and I just want to be remembered as a great teammate. I do want to come here, play some good ball, rush for a lot of yards, but just to come in and be a good person and be the best team I could and be remembered as a great person.
So Jordan talking about being remembered as a great person, a great teammate, even more than being a great running back. Wants to get some yards, wants to do his thing, but would rather be remembered as a great person overall. Says a lot about the character, once again, that Dave Doran and his staff bring in to NC State and the success that they have by just finding the right people. You don't accidentally in recruiting find good young men and young women and hardworking young men and young women. In the case of Dave Doran and his staff, to find these young men that are successful at NC State, successful in the NFL, get to the NFL, and care about being better people more than just being really good at their position, speaks volumes about the leadership of NC State that starts with Dave Doran at the head of the football program. Continuing our conversation with the North Carolina-based schools of the ACC, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. These are proudly presented by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And our conversation now extends out to the North Carolina Tar Heels and head coach Mack Brown, who I always love talking with. And I love talking with him in what you're about to see. I even more love speaking with him after the fact when I got to shake his hand and speak to him man-to-man off camera.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. You look at this conference as a whole and how it's evolved over time. SMU in Dallas, Texas, and then 2 on the West Coast with Cal and with Stanford. How would you define what the ACC is becoming in the grand scheme of collegiate football?
Gosh, Dan, I was here when Florida State came in. And I remember Florida State was so good, and John Swafford came to me and we weren't good. And he said, do you mind if Florida State comes in the league? And I said, yes. I said, my Lord, why would I want them in the league? And I said, wait 5 years and we'll do it. And he said, okay, I'll do that. We put them in the next year. So I saw that. Then I saw the changes with Syracuse and the Boston College and all of those, Virginia Techs and those teams coming in. And then I was at Texas when we were down to hours that I thought Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Texas Tech were going to the Pac-12. And all of that was going to change because it changed your recruiting areas. It changed the travel for your teams. It changed the travel for the parents. It changed the expense for the parents. So when you start looking at what's happened to this league now, and really a third change, I guess, we had the change with a lot of different dynamics with teams coming in. Then we had Notre Dame's addition, and now we've had 3 new teams. It makes it exciting for our players to go to a Cal or a Stanford or a Dallas that maybe they haven't been to before. It makes it fun for fans, but at the same time, you have to think about what does it change in recruiting, what does it change for your academic schedule, and how much more difficult is it for the parents to get to see their sons play.
And that coming from Mack Brown, always taking a look at the bigger picture, you would feel like he's been given the questions beforehand in the way that he answers them and breaks them down, but I can promise you he's not. So a shout out to Mack Brown for always being a pleasure to speak with and someone who I very much enjoy. I remember the first question that I asked him about, why come back? Why come back to North Carolina? He was a TV personality and analyst and doing his work in college football after coaching in North Carolina, after coaching at Texas. He was analyzing football across the country. And why come back and coach after Larry Fedora was at North Carolina? And I'll never forget that Max said his wife wanted to retire in Hawaii and he wanted to go back to coaching. And he won, I guess. but did he win? How's Mrs. Brown doing? She all right? I hope she is. But no, we're so spoiled to have Mac in the ACC, in North Carolina, in athletics in general. And I'm very spoiled to have crossed paths with him. I look forward to many more conversations with Mack Brown, and that conversation, as well as all my conversations with the North Carolina Tar Heels and the North Carolina-based schools, are proudly presented by Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina. As I, born and raised in New York, Brooklyn Pickle, born and raised in New York, I have gone down to North Carolina for over a decade to cover these teams. And Brooklyn Pickle, just recently, in the last few months, has gone down to North Carolina to feed anybody who wants to come out, including student athletes, coaches, fans, and people in the community. So head to Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in North Carolina today. Let them know that DT sent you, and I appreciate it so much. Our conversations with North Carolina go from the head coach, Mack Brown, and extend out to Connor Harrell. Connor Harrell, one of the quarterbacks going into this season. This is what Connor had to say about this upcoming 2024-25 campaign and my question that I asked him.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Connor, for you to be on a team where not only you're competing for the job at quarterback, but Max is here with you today, just that representation and that relationship that you both have to be competitive, but to also be family.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I obviously get asked this question a lot, and I always say me and Max are the only people in the world going through this situation with these coaches and with this team, and obviously brings you closer. You know, we're together all the time, working together, trying to figure out how to make the team better. And that brings you closer. So I think the end goal is, you know, we want to win a championship, and that creates a bond. So.
And a fantastic, one of the best suits that I saw on site at the ACC kickoff. So always checking out the styles. Here's the quarterback we just spoke about here. So Connor Harrell, a quarterback on North Carolina. Max Johnson, also a quarterback on the team, and also at the ACC kickoff. Like Duke, bringing multiple quarterbacks is what Max had to say.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Max, you have had a journey when it comes to the transfer portal from LSU to Texas A&M, now to North Carolina. To someone who maybe is in a place where it's not the right fit, what did you learn? What type of wisdom and knowledge can you share about the portal and how to handle the re-recruitment of college football?
Yeah, I think, you know, the transfer portal is a big part of, you know, college football now. You see all, you know, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray. You've seen so many big-time guys transfer from school to school, and I think, you know, being in Carolina with Coach Brown and, you know, all these great players around me, I'm so excited for the opportunity. I'm so blessed to be able to be here. And, you know, it's a tough time being in the portal. You're getting phone calls, you know, every single day. And for me, it was just finding the best fit for me and, you know, building that relationship with these guys. And Coach Brown was so important for me.
And you look at this quarterback position, and it seems to continue to be open, right? We're about to start the season, and it seems like Mac Brown wants to keep this a secret, which I don't blame him. I know the media doesn't like this stuff, probably, but I don't blame Mac for keeping it a secret. I don't blame him for keeping this to himself at all. So there's 3 potential quarterbacks for this team. Max Johnson, who you just heard from, Connor Harrell, who you heard from before that, and Jacoby Criswell. So we still have uncertainty. And maybe there's not uncertainty with Mac, but he ain't going to tell you. So, you know, it's interesting here. Very interesting here. And seeing what can happen with this quarterback situation. And I'm excited, for sure, to see what this is going to look like. Now, it looks like Max Johnson and Connor Harrell are both going to be quarterbacks on the field against the Minnesota Golden Gophers in week 1. So, at this point, from what I'm seeing, we're going to get both. And I'm excited to see what this looks like. I'm excited to see what this pans out to be. Now, you hope at some point during the season, sooner than later, that you have your guy and that you've made that decision on who your guy is going to be. You hope at some point that decision has clarity, right? But for now, Connor Harrell, Max Johnson, we may see them both on the field. And when I left the ACC kickoff, I can tell you, looking back then, hindsight 2020 to right now, I'm not surprised if we see both of those quarterbacks out there against Minnesota to start off the 2024-25 season. And I'm excited to see what comes of this and what this ends up looking like in the not too distant future. Our final conversation, our final Q&A with the North Carolina-based schools here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the ACC is with Kamen Rucker. Kamen Rucker on this team at linebacker. And we talk about best dressed. And this gentleman definitely has style and a little bit of flair. And here's my conversation with Kamen, linebacker of the North Carolina Tar Heels, in our continued coverage of North Carolina-based schools, proudly presented on Wake Up Call by the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by Pinehurst Golf Course.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com, came in to have a head coach like Mac Brown, who's had so much experience and has seen the world of college football as a coach and also on the other side of it looking at it and analyzing it. What does that mean to you to have his knowledge and his wisdom on a daily basis to train you and prepare you?
I mean, first off, man, I'm getting coached by a Hall of Famer. First off, you know what I'm saying? Won a national championship. And I mean, you can't just get that anywhere. There's not a lot of places that can say that. So for me to say that is truly an honor and a privilege. And for him stepping into his 5th year of coaching and stepping into my 5th year of playing, for us being his, for the 2020 class to be his first recruiting class coming back to UNC, that is also another honor and another privilege. And I'm just glad to be a part of the journey, just as much he was on this journey as well. So, but just to really be a part of the knowledge and the wisdom that he shares with our team each and every day, team meeting, practice, outside of everything, it's just like, it's, like I said, I can't say nothing but it's an honor and a privilege, because this is a guy that not only has given me a shot when a lot of Power 5 programs didn't offer me out of high school, he took the shot on me. Nobody else did but him. And so he saw that he trusted me early on. Before I even had trusted myself, he trusted me. And so just to learn from him, have to grow up with him, really, just to learn from him each and every day, the X's and O's of football, but just also life in general. Like he said, it's not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. And for him to just set me up for life, allowing me just to be the person that I am, to be the person that I am on the field, off the field, getting involved with the community, utilizing NIL, not for my own purposes. I'm helping out in the community and serving others. It's just, you know, obviously for everybody else that benefits from that as well, teaching us life lessons each and every day. That's something that you don't get in every single football program. So for Coach Brown to still be here, still pushing it, still going hard as if he was back in his first year coaching, man, it's truly an honor and a privilege. And Coach Brown, personally, I appreciate you for trusting me and allowing me to stay this long, and, you know, just me being a part of this journey with you. So I love you and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you. Love you too, brother. Tell them very quickly what you did with your NIL money.
Oh yeah, so since we're on the topic of NIL, it was about a couple of months ago, or a month ago, I went back to my hometown, and, you know, this is a bunch of 5th graders at my alma mater elementary school. 5th graders that are going into their 6th grade, and, you know, anybody who has children or has children that are going into that 5th grade, particularly boys, you know, they go through a lot of bodily and anatomically changes. And so with me, what I did, I utilized my NIL, and I purchased book bags, different hygienics such as deodorant, kind of little bags of cologne, of course, and I kind of branched out with my Ruther Butcher merch as well. So if y'all feeling generous, you know, come ahead, RutherButcher.com. But I also offered that as well to these kids. But all jokes aside, you know, I just wanted to help them out with their hygienics as well, because this is a different point. This is a very big change in their lives. You know, I feel like there's very important changes in people's lives, and that's transitioning from school and transitioning to another level of K through 12, and going into college, and transitioning from college to the real world. And so for me, I utilize my NIL to really help them in their first stage of their life, going from essentially being a boy to a young adult, or going into that level into their life where they start holding accountability and responsibility, and of course, take care of their body along the way. So,
and that coming from Cayman Rucker, I love that, and I love that Mac Brown. So where I was, Mac was, he was off my right shoulder, so off to the left of Cayman, and he was you know, standing over there. And when Cayman looked at him, and these are the moments in life that I just really feel like, I mean, it's about being real. It's not staging things. It's just, you know, it seems like in the social media world we live in, like everybody wants to show you their fake life, and I show you what it is. I mean, I show you, this is my life, this is who I am, and this is who they are. And Cayman, in that moment, that was just a real moment of him saying, "Coach, I love you," and Mac Brown saying, "I love you too," and tell everybody what you did with your NIL money, and then continuing that conversation. So Cayman, definitely a pleasure to talk with, and can't think of a better way to end our conversations here in coverage of the Duke Blue Devils, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the NC State Wolfpack, and Cayman from the North Carolina Tar Heels with his teammates, then to talk about the bigger picture and helping other people and using his NIL money to help people as opposed to just get rich, to actually give back to the community. So big time shout out for that. Speaking of community, down in North Carolina, you have an awesome new place to eat, the Brooklyn Pickle, head over there to 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. I would love it on a game day to see Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, and North Carolina fans all inside of the Brooklyn Pickle at Southern Pines. So let them know that DT sent you. I appreciate you all, as always, for supporting those that support us. And you know I don't work with businesses unless I utilize their services, unless I eat their food, unless, you know, I drive their cars. So we don't talk about anything on Wake Up Call we don't believe in. And Brooklyn Pickle is a place that I've gone to for many, many years of my life. And I thank them and appreciate Craig Kowadla, as well as Brian Bruno and everybody down at Southern Pines. So big time shout out to all of you. And it is a pleasure. I'm going to talk about Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, North Carolina, no matter what. We've done that for over a decade. But to be able to connect that to the Brooklyn Pickle and to say that one of my favorite places to eat growing up as a kid in central New York is now down in North Carolina is really cool to be able to share that with you all. And I don't know what sandwich shops you got down in North Carolina. I just know you got the best one now. So head off there today to Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, down the road from Pinehurst Golf Course. And a big time thanks to Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, and North Carolina for the Q&As, and to the ACC for always welcoming me in to their events from day zero. So a big time shout out to John Swafford, the former commissioner, current commissioner Jim Phillips, Amy Avicolli, and Kevin Best, everybody out there at the ACC for your kindness, your generosity, and for always treating me with respect and an even playing field, and giving me the opportunity to be there and cover your teams just really means the world to me. So big time shout out to the state of North Carolina and to the ACC and to all of the teams inside of the ACC, which is now expanded to Cal, Stanford, and SMU. You could see my one-on-one extended conversations with the coaches. You're not going to find something like this anywhere else. And you can find my conversations with Cal head coach Justin Wilcox, Stanford head coach Troy Taylor, and SMU head coach Rhett Lashley, all on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll find them on the ACC playlist. You'll also find them just looking through the library of videos that we have, which has the latest video, and you can just keep going back to years and years of over 4,000 videos on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check those out today, and these North Carolinian specials are going to be added there as well, proudly presented by the Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back with the ingredients to success on Wake Up Call right after this. Here where sports truly meets that thing called life. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There was a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience, it's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really changed the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. And in a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, Carvelanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family friendly. Some family friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open for you Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. I definitely appreciate so very much the work that they do at GG Cards and Breaks. They are such a tremendous place. And yes, they have a vast array of awesome cards in the hockey, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, esport, AEW, or all sport, I should say, AEW, UFC. They also have Disney Lorcana. They have the Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering cards. They have graded cards. They have packs and boxes and singles, RPAs, rookie patch autos, as well as autograph cards, numbered cards. Sometimes they have one-of-one cards. There's so many things at GG Cards and Breaks, and the list is endless. But why do I go there? Because of Josh Gideon, because of Anthony Campbell, because of Alex, because of Joel, because of the staff in general. Why do I go to GG Cards and Breaks? Because I feel welcome. I feel appreciated. Because they do right by you. There's sports card shops that'll lie to you about pricing and be really unfair, take advantage of you, especially if you walk in there and you don't know what the price of something is. Well, GG Cards and Breaks, I don't worry about someone taking advantage of me. I don't worry about somebody being unfair. I don't worry about lying. I walk into GG Cards and Breaks and I want to spend money with them because number one, they have great products, they have great service, but I know that they value me. I know that our partnership matters to them. I wouldn't work with GG Cards and Breaks. I wouldn't work with anybody if I didn't believe in what they do. And because of Anthony, because of Josh, because of their leadership, and because of the unique things that they do, like having every NFL, NBA, and MLB team with their own box, that's a very tedious job to do. It's a lot of work. And they're willing to do the work, and they're willing to be different, and that sticks out. And when somebody is willing to go the extra mile, and in the case of GG Cards and Breaks, the extra 10, 11, 12 miles, I'm going to go there every chance I get. And I hope that you will as well. Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5 on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, it is time to jump into our final piece of every Tuesday show, which are the ingredients to success. The ingredients to success are proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. Avicolli's was open Tuesday through Sunday. They're now open 7 days a week. Made the decision to open on Mondays after all these years, which I think is a phenomenal decision because Avicolli's food is great every day. And when you drive by there on a Monday, you're like, man, I wish I could get a slice. Man, I wish I could get that veal Parmesan sub. Man, I wish that I could go over there and just hang out today at Avicolli's. Well, now they're open 7 days a week, and you can go over there to Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. They are right on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road. They are down the street from Liverpool High School. If you stand at the light where Avicolli's is and you look down the road, you could see Liverpool High School. That's how close they are. And we have our Liverpool Warriors special broadcast that we do every single month on site, on location at Avicolli. So we look forward to seeing you out there every month. And we appreciate everybody that goes there for casual dining on the pizza side, as well as fine dining and the bar. And while the weather permits, the outdoor dining, which is beautiful with all their wonderful flowers that they put out there on the patio. And, of course, you can call them for takeout, delivery, and catering at 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. You can also go to myavicollis.com to order online. That's myavicollis.com. It's very easy. You go to myavicollis.com and you'll see order online. Click right on it, and there you go. Whole menu. Figure out what you want. You can also order from Avicolli's by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and clicking on Avicolli's logo. So I want to let you know that as well. And they're underneath our partnership tab. This topic day for the ingredients to success for this week is focus on your blessings. I did a broadcast about this last night on Facebook. You can go and check that out. Focus on your blessings. A lot of times in life, we focus on the things that piss us off. We focus on the things that make us sad. We focus on the people that said mean things or they did mean things. But here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you this really flat out, and I'm speaking to myself and I'm speaking to you at the same time. Why would you care what anybody says on social media? 99.9% of the time, they don't know you. And if anybody is willing to publicly go out there and yell at someone, disrespect someone, put somebody down, try to make you hate yourself, try to make you get down on yourself, that says everything about them and nothing about you. If somebody can put out hateful speech toward anybody in this world, in public, online, wherever, in an email, that tells you everything about that sad, sad state of life that person's living. Because maybe they don't agree with you, but they don't have to be disrespectful. Maybe they don't like what you look like or like what you do or this or that, but who goes up to someone and goes, "You're ugly. Your baby's ugly. You know, I hate you. Kill yourself." I mean, who speaks in that way and really means it? And I've seen negativity on social media. I'm sure you've seen it. Anybody can see it. You know, the more support you get, the more people, in my case, the more people that watch and listen and read and follow and subscribe, that's a higher probability of somebody going, "Dan, I hate you. Dan, you suck." And why do we care about those people? Those people are nothings. 99.9% of the time, those people would never say it to your face. And if that person would say it to your face, they even know you? Do they know anything about you? You know, we live in a world where if you disagree with somebody, you have to hate that person. Why? Why? Right? When somebody says, "I hate your voice," well, I guess you hate God then, because God gave me this voice. I can't change it. "I hate the way you look." Well, that's nice. I guess you don't have a high self-esteem for yourself, because people that do don't say stupid things like that. So I would tell you that in a world where we focus on the haters and we focus on the negativity, why? Why give them life? Why breathe energy toward them? Why give them, you know, I remember a long time ago, it was like a McDonald's Burger King thing. And they said, why would McDonald's or Burger King spend any part of the ad that they bought talking about each other? It's free advertising, right? If McDonald's is like, "You can't go to Burger King because Burger King sucks and they don't do this and they don't do that," now you're thinking about Burger King. And even though they're saying negative things about Burger King, you're kind of wondering, like, do I want Burger King? You know, why would you talk about somebody else? If I had a Honda commercial, I'm not talking about Toyota. I paid for that commercial. Why am I going to talk about my competition in a commercial I paid for? So, you know, people used to ask me in the past, you know, this person said something about you on their show. Are you going to listen to it? No. Why? Because I don't care. I don't have time. It doesn't matter to me. And so focusing on our blessings, folks, is imperative. We don't do it enough. Sometimes we don't do it at all. And why is that? Right? When you focus on your blessings, I feel like you get more blessed. In this last week and a half, I've had a lot of stupid things happen. I've had extremely incompetent people. I've had people that haven't done their job for years that finally were like, yeah, I'm going to do my job, and didn't do it immediately. I've had people go back on promises. I've had people be disrespectful. I've had people have a lack of common sense. I've done someone's job for them, and they still didn't know how to do it or accept the fact that it was done. And I called up my mom and I called up my dad, and I'm sorry to both of them because I wasted a lot of time not focusing on my blessings. And I said to my mom and dad, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I called up a couple of my buddies yesterday, and I said, I had to deal with this and this and this and this and this and this today. I had to deal with all of these things. But while I'm saying that, I'm like, but I'm alive. I know my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I know God made me for a purpose, and it wasn't to complain and to let negativity swallow me up. I have friends that love me. I have people that I can call to complain to, which is a blessing that somebody would want to listen to me and want to help me through a problem when everyone's got our own problems. There's nobody on this earth that doesn't have something going on that they could probably complain about, even if it's somebody just cutting them off in traffic, right? I had a really nice person help me through an issue, and, you know, I know that I have love, and I know that I have respect, and amidst all of this lack of common sense and things that I was dealing with, I had this coach say, like, yeah, I want to do this. I had this person thank me for this. I had this person say, you know, I appreciate this. I had this person say, can't wait to see you this weekend. So, you know, I was able to go to the press conferences because, I mean, people wonder, you know, Dan, you cover Syracuse so actively all the time. How come we haven't heard you at the game week press conferences? And that's because they were always doing them during my show. They were doing them at 10 o'clock or at 11 o'clock. And that has been a huge frustration for me because I can't be there. And then when they made the announcement that Fran Brown is going to do his Mondays at 1 o'clock, I was like, finally. So I was able to be there yesterday. That's a blessing. You know, being able to ask the first question, that's a blessing. And being credentialed for however many years it is now with Syracuse, that's a blessing. You know, having love and support, having people that want me to come down to Binghamton and down to Florida and down to here and down to there, like those are all blessings. The fact that people want to see you, they want to interact with you. The fact that I went and did the Philly show and I spent money on cards to add to my personal collection and to sell, and I came back with more money than what I spent because thanks to deals that were made overall within the last 2 weeks, I got all this new stuff and I made $5. Doesn't look like I spent any money. So that's a blessing. Having enough money to pay my bills, that's a blessing. So, you know, as I'm sitting with my parents and I'm complaining and I'm talking with my friends and I'm complaining, I thought, you know, the ingredients to success topic should be focused on the blessings that we have, and I should call myself out because I've been focusing on all of these things that have only stressed me out. They've only wasted my time. They've made my throat hurt. They've made my head hurt. They've made me tired. They've made me lethargic. They've made me angry. They've made my body physically tense. And for what? Why give any energy or power or time to those that seek to destroy? Now, these people might not be doing it on purpose. They may not be wanting to hurt you, but their lack of common sense, their disrespect, their rudeness, their crass way of dealing with things, their double standards and hypocrisy, all of that stuff that they're doing, if you let it seep in, it's going to tear you down. But this stuff doesn't matter. So what are the ingredients to success to focus on your blessings? Number one, wake up in the morning, thank God that you're alive. That's number one. Number two, thank God that you have the ability to do this and do that and do the other thing. You could be a double amputee that's in a wheelchair, but you're still alive. You could be a double amputee that's in a wheelchair, but you have a wheelchair. You have a way to get around. You know, and in that first day of dealing with something that's a pain in the butt is really hard. And then the second day is hard. And maybe the third day, but it keeps getting easier and easier and easier. And then you look back and you're like, you know what? Why am I complaining? I've dealt with incompetence of this person for 3 years. Why am I surprised in year 4 that they're still incompetent? I did it without them before. I'll do it without them again. I don't need them to be successful. I don't need them to be there. I'm being forced to work through them, but I don't need them. So why care? They know that they don't care. They know they're not going to do their job. And they know that whether it's written or whether it's a handshake or whatever it is, that they're going to do whatever they want to do. They have decided that mediocrity is good enough in their life. Why am I going to let that bother me? It's been years upon years upon years of dealing with the same garbage. So am I going to take the trash out every single day? Or am I going to sit there and complain every time I take the trash out? You know, this is who they are. This is who I am. I ask so much more of myself than this person asks of themselves. I would feel guilty if I didn't do what I promised. I would feel guilty if I didn't answer a message. I would feel guilty if I didn't handle my business. They don't care. So why should you care about the fact that they don't care? We spend so much time in our lives going, why does this loved one not care? Why does this person that I work with not care? Why does this boss not care? Why does this business not care? Why does my daughter not care? Why does my son not? We keep asking ourselves, why do these people not care? Instead of realizing the fact that you cannot make a horse drink. You can only bring them to the water. If you force the horse to drink, you could drown that horse, right? You can't you can shove their face in the water, but it doesn't mean they're going to drink, right? I mean, you could just end up drowning them. The reality of it all is we focus so much of our lives on the people that piss us off because they're not doing what we want them to do. But you can't make somebody do what you want them to do. You have to do what you need to do. You have to work how you need to work. If you have a certain level that you ask yourself to be at, my dad has told me this forever. He said, the level that you hold yourself to, you keep thinking that the rest of the world is like you. You keep thinking the rest of the world is compassionate. You keep thinking that they're faithful. You keep thinking that they're not a double standard, that they're not naive, that they're not ignorant. You hold yourself to this high standard and you get pissed off when people don't meet you where you're at because you expect them to do their job. You expect them. Now, I'm not asking people to do something crazy. I expect people to do their job. I expect people to answer messages. I expect people to be kind and compassionate. I expect people to be empathetic. I expect people to be understanding. I expect people to listen. I expect people to give and take. I expect people to give what they ask for. To not ask for something they're not willing to do. I mean, I've been in conversations where somebody will tell me, I need this, and literally will say that they're not going to give the exact thing they just asked for. Like to a T. Like, I need this thing at this time, and then you say, well, can you do that for me? And they go, no, I can't. And you're like, but you just asked me for it. And then they sit there and look at you like you're crazy, that they just said, give me what I'm not willing to give you. Why do you have a problem with that? If I had a nickel for a conversation that I had with someone romantically, as a friend, in business, in the family, where they said, here's what I want, but I'm not willing to give the exact same thing to you. Why do you have a problem with that? And I spent so much time going, how can this person be a hypocrite? How can they be naive? How can they not work hard? How can this person think they're getting away with murder when they don't let me get away with anything? And the reality of it all is you can't change it. You cannot change if someone is ignorant. You cannot change if they're a hypocrite. You cannot change if they're a liar. You cannot change if they're a cheat. You cannot change if they have double standards and they waste time. The only thing that you can do is be a better you. But we focus so much on these people that piss us off. And this is what you need to remember. If they are willing to do a half job, if they're willing to not come halfway, if they're willing to not, and when I say they're doing half their job, like doing kind of what they were supposed to do, right? If they're not willing to work with you and meet you in the middle, if people aren't willing to compromise, if you have to work with those people, then just do what you need to do and get it done. Have the bare minimum conversation and move on. It could be family, it could be romance, it could be any of that stuff, right? You're never locked in completely, right? God is not holding a gun to your head going, you have to talk to this person, you have to deal with this person. You don't have to. Because as my Aunt Mary, another mom to me, told me a long time ago, toxic is toxic. And if you drink poison, you will die no matter who that poison comes from. Why would you drink poison from your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, a business you work with, a boss, an employee, a peer, a classmate, a teammate? Why would a stranger, a neighbor, someone in an alley, someone who's rich, someone who's poor? Why would you drink poison from anybody? Poison kills you no matter who hands it to you. Because some people go, well, I would never drink poison from a stranger, but I have to drink it from my boss. It's still going to kill you. It's still toxic. Why is that not an easy concept? People make excuses in this sector of their life that they wouldn't make in this sector. Oh, I would never let a total stranger disrespect me like that, but I let my mom do it all the time. I let my best friend do it all the time. Why? Nothing in your life states that you have to take abuse and go, yeah, that's fine. You never have to drink the poison. But we focus on the poison. We don't focus on the blessings. We don't focus on the fact that amidst a week and a half of all these fires being started in my life that seemed like, number one, that they didn't need to be started, and number two, they were so ridiculously stupid and easy to put out, I couldn't believe that someone started them, and I couldn't believe they didn't put them out themselves. And so here I am putting them out, frustrated that I have to put out everybody else's mistakes. But in the midst of all of that, I got this message. I did this event. I saw the bigger picture. I heard from this person. I heard from that person. I got love here. I got an opportunity there. God was blessing me more than the problems I had. And I was screaming and yelling and ranting and raving about the problems that I had. Instead of going, hey, God, look at all this cool stuff. If I had one of these things, that one message from the coach and the opportunity that I have with that team, wow. And look at this person didn't keep their word, and this person didn't keep their word, and this person didn't keep their word. But this person kept their word, and this person kept their word, and these people kept their word. I was literally looking at people that didn't keep their word while I was sitting in front of everyone that kept it. Yes, we hope that everybody keeps their word. Yes, we hope that everyone does what they say they're going to do. We hope that people pay us that are supposed to pay us. We hope that people show up that are supposed to show up. We hope that people sign things they're supposed to sign and do things that they're supposed to do. We hope that people come through. But in 38 years of my life, I can promise you that you hope that 100% of people come through, and that's not going to happen. You can control you coming through 100% of the time. And to the people that come through for you, pay attention to them. Honor them, appreciate them, thank them. Because not everyone's going to come through for you. We want them to, but it's not always going to happen. And we could do everything right, and we could set up everything the way that it needs to be set up. We can do literally everything that's asked of us. And it still doesn't mean that somebody else is going to do their part. Did you ever have a project in school with somebody? And you're out there doing your project, and there's somebody else that was just doing nothing? And you're like, man, why am I doing all the work on this project? And we got this group thing, and there's 5 of us, and Sheila's doing something, and Peter's doing something, and Paul's doing something, and I'm doing something, but Rita's not doing anything. She just thinks she's going to get the grade that we all worked for. And you get so upset and frustrated with that, instead of going like, whatever, you know what? Yeah, we might all kick butt here. And Peter, Paul, Sheila, and I are going to get an A, and Rita's going to get an A by proxy. But at some point in Rita's life, Rita's going to realize, and I'm just making up names here, at some point in Rita's life, or whoever, they're going to realize they got to do the work. Like, they got an A from us this time, but we're not always going to be here. Right? You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to figure out the subway system when nobody's there to help you. You're going to have to figure out how to get a good grade on the SATs when nobody's there to help you. You're going to have to figure out how to coach when nobody's there to help you. You're going to have to figure out how to earn money and balance your checkbook and make sure your finances are right when nobody's there to help you. There's going to be even those people that you get really pissed off. They got a good grade because of you. They got an A because of you. You know, they literally sat there and did nothing, and they get to ride your coattails and steal your work. Eventually, that person's going to have to show their work. Eventually, you might be pissed off that they benefited from you by doing nothing. But eventually, they're going to have to do something. God is never going to let somebody ride on the coattails and stay in the shadows. God will always, always, always uncover the truth. And there are times where I sit here today and go, I still feel like some people are hiding in the shadows, but I've also seen, I'm not going to challenge God. I'm not going to question God because God has brought things to light. He's shown me things that it's like, without God, how does that happen? There is no way that coincidence, that was a coincidence that just simply happened by sheer mistake. God uncovers everything. He knows. You might fool the world, you might fool your family, you might fool your friends, you might fool your significant other, you might fool the business you work with, but you can't fool God. And I'm a firm believer that if you put in the work, it will come back to you. I have had more things stolen than I remember. I have had people treat me the way that I would never treat them. I have had people go back on many things that cost you time, money, and energy. But none of that was in my control. You know, I can actually sit here this morning and say, I've never lost something because of this. I've never lost that because of that. You know, I didn't deserve the things that happened to me. I didn't earn losing money. I didn't earn losing time. I didn't earn losing energy in those situations. And so if you can walk forward, I know it's frustrating and I know it's hard, but if you can focus on your blessings and not on all the knucklehead stuff that happens in life, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's not easy. It is not easy. It's not. It gets really frustrating and it gets really hard and it gets really annoying, but I look at my life today and I'm like, of all the stuff that I went through, none of it stopped me. None of it made me poor in spirit. None of it made me a loser. I figured it out. And yeah, right now, the things that happened in this last week and a half, they don't feel like they could have been possible. They don't feel like there's any logic to them. They don't feel like there's any rationale to them. I don't understand any way, shape, or form that it should have happened. But they happened. And I fought them with logic. I fought them with facts. I fought them with being calm and respectful. And I still didn't get what I wanted. So I have to believe that God is teaching me something. In one case, I think God is telling me, well, in more than one case, God's telling me you know who these people are. So you should have no surprise that this person did this and this person did that. Yeah, it sucks. It's not great. It makes your job a little bit harder, or it takes something away from you. But I have to trust that God is doing what he's doing because I'm supposed to be learning something. I'm supposed to be leveling up. And it's been really hard to say, hey, God, I trust you. I'm not going to say it's easy. People, I'm not going to sit here and act like faith is easy. You get punched in the gut 6 times in a couple days and you're like, dude, what the hell? But I'm going to choose to focus on the fact that Lily's alive. My mom and dad are alive. My grandparents are up in heaven, and I know that. Heaven exists, and I know that. God exists, and I know that. I got legs, I got arms, I got a brain, I got a voice. I wake up and do what I love and love what I do. I got to do a really unique thing. I've covered the ACC for over a decade, but now I got to support Brooklyn Pickle and connect all of my coverage in North Carolina back to Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. I get to do this segment with the Ingredients to Success with Avicolli's, and I love working with John. I got a bunch of, as much as like this thing didn't work out the way I wanted to and that thing didn't work out the way I wanted to, I got a bunch of things in the oven that are cooking right now. And I'm really excited, you know. And my mom had these amazing words that she said to me. And those words that she said to me, she said, Daniel, if God is taking, if something's not working out and you didn't do anything to deserve it not working out, and, you know, it's unfair and it stinks and you've done everything you could to state your case, you have to believe that if it's not working out, it's because God has decided that you're done here and he is trying to move you in another direction. And you just have to trust, you have to trust him that the direction he's moving you in has a purpose, that there's a plan. So focus on your blessings, folks. Be good to each other, be good to yourself, and focus on the good. Don't care any more seconds with what somebody says about you that doesn't know you. What somebody says about you in social media, or even if somebody knows you, if they're hateful, you know, you got to just keep moving. There's things that happen in life that you can't control. Be the best person that you can be. Focus on your blessings. Be nice to people every day. And even those people that are mean to you, God doesn't say be nice to the nice people. God says be nice to the people that aren't nice to you. Pray for them. Hope that they get to heaven with you. I could do a better job of that. I've made jokes and I've had serious moments where I'm like, these people aren't going to make it to heaven. You know what? I should have never said that. I hope they do make it to heaven. I hope every single one of us makes it to heaven. I wouldn't want somebody to not want me to get there. And God is the one that gets to choose, not anybody else. So the next time you see a negative opinion, a negative thought, a hateful thing, a hateful action, remember that those don't come from God. God is not hateful, envious. God is not chaotic. God is patient. God is kind. God doesn't boast. God doesn't delight in evil. He always persists. He always endures. He never fails because God is love. So focus on your blessings. Focus on the things that God has given you. Say thank you. Don't take all the credit for the good stuff in your life. Give some credit to God. Even if you've never believed in him and you've never talked to him before, I'm just saying, big picture, take a look at your life and realize that maybe there's somebody looking out for you that's a lot smarter and can see things better than you can. So focus on your blessings, be good to each other, be good to yourself, and thank God every day. These have been the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Go and visit them today, right down the street from Liverpool High School, and we have our Warriors broadcast every single month at Avicolli's, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, open 7 days a week to dine in their casual pizza side, their fine dining, their bar, as weather permits, their outdoor dining, as well as takeout, delivery, and catering by calling 315-622-5100 or by going online to myavicollis.com. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for tuning into the show today. We had a fantastic time speaking and sharing the stage with so many wonderful voices, and I appreciate them so very much. YouTube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as Facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, Monday through Friday, worldwide on all of these channels from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, once we're on those channels, we jump to our wonderful outlets of archives. You'll find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, a big time thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York. Much love and appreciation to Carvel, DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, as well as Brian's Landing, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Avicolli's, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, which is on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. But right now they're at the New York State Fair, so their location in Liverpool is closed so that they can give you all of their work at the fair. So please go out and visit them at the fair all the way through September 2nd, which is Labor Day, to see Ma and Pa's, the Spud Shack, and their lemonade, all at the New York State Fair. Of course, at the fairgrounds here in Syracuse. Big time thanks to Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, and Servomation, which is reimagining, revitalizing, and just creating such an incredible experience with vending at businesses, places that, places of work, your business, as well as colleges and universities. Servomation.com. Go and check them out today. Their technology, their kitchen. I was able to tour their facility that is here in upstate New York, and it was an incredible experience of seeing something that I really never envisioned to be what it is. When you look at the world of vending, I never thought to see things the way that I saw things, and that this is what vending can be. It's incredible what Servomation does. So I implore you to go and check them out at servomation.com. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins every Wednesday during Dolphin Time. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide, exclusively here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne playlist of over 140 videos over the last 3 years and counting, as we're here in year 4. We'll see the Dolphins every single Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You'll also find them on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com, and as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You'll find the Bobcats every single month in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. Men's and women's soccer is starting off, so you're going to see those specials coming up very soon with the head coach and student athletes. Big time thanks to Nick Dimitrievsky and Alex Grigorita of men's and women's soccer, respectively, as well as all of their student athletes over the years and what we will be sharing with you this year, as well as men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports. You'll find the Bobcats on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single month right here where sports meets life, and on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time during Bearcat Time. We were a little bit earlier this week. We'll be back to 10 a.m. next week. Our Moments with Marshall features Gene Marshall, the Binghamton University Athletics Director, and a behind-the-scenes look at the athletic programs and Binghamton as a whole, and the Bearcat Breakroom with student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories of their personal journeys and connection with the Bearcat family. All of this is on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Go and see Ma and Pa's at the fair. Big time thanks to Dennis Kalina for joining me here on the show. for Binghamton University's Bearcat Breakroom and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. It was Dennis's first time on the show, so many, many thanks to Dennis, making some history. Looking forward to putting that Binghamton pennant behind us here in the Wake Up Call studios, and many thanks to the work that Dennis is doing as Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief Operating Officer. Many thanks to the Duke Blue Devils, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the NC State Wolfpack, and the North Carolina Tar Heels for the Q&As that we got to do as we're kicking off this ACC football season and college football season in general for 2024-25. And Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, North Carolina all call the great state of North Carolina home, and that is also home of the Brooklyn Pickle, which presented all of these interviews with you today on Wake Up Call. And Brooklyn Pickle is on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by Pinehurst Golf Courses, which the ACC kickoff was at just a few years back. The ingredients to success, many thanks to Avicolli's, and make sure to always focus on your blessings. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless